Welcome back, everyone, and here's another episode. And today I'll be covering wrestling, and particularly AEW Collision. Their episode they aired August 3rd, which would be last week at the time of this recording. This was done in the same day that WWE had the pay-per-view SummerSlam. Now, what AEW did, they tried to mitigate the ratings disaster that was probably going to happen. SummerSlam is one of WWE's biggest shows of the year. So AEW decided to air Collision on Saturday a little bit earlier, preempting SummerSlam. Wise decision. However, the ratings didn't quite reflect that. On that day, they did 189,000 viewers, as you see here in the article on the side over here. Probably the lowest ever in the history of Collision. I watched the recording of this episode, and the venue that they were at was very small. Despite the size of it, they still weren't able to fill it up, and it was very blacked out in the upper decks. So even then, if I had to guess, they may have had like 1,000, 1,500 people in attendance, but wasn't very much to be seen, and the energy was very low. So whatever they had for fans that showed up, the energy just wasn't low. You just didn't feel like it was like a show. In the last several months, Collision's really gone downhill. It really started when CM Punk was fired from AEW. When Punk was there, the show was actually pretty solid. I mean, Collision at the time was actually a much better show than Dynamite. But since his departure, it's really gone down in quality. And I mean, with these ratings, I'm surprised it's still on. I mean, granted, they're probably under contract with TNT to keep the show for whatever amount of years it's had. But you have to wonder when this contract is up, will TNT still keep Collision? I mean, they might. Maybe they might, have not charge as much for the show. Who knows how they handle negotiations here? But I just can't see them continuing this much longer. Perhaps they may have a smaller footprint, scaled down, because they have too many shows as it is. And with the exception of Dynamite, there are other shows like Collision and Rampage. Just the ratings are very poor, and they don't seem to be improving. Even Dynamite's suffering. There was a time where they would average about 1 million viewers a week. Now it's not even that anymore. It's like 600,000 plus. But there's simply no appetite for AEW's product. It's just very small. It's becoming very niche. And again, you look at Tony Khan. I mean, he has a lot of cash, but it's not solving their problem. They have a lot of talent, but they're still struggling. And I'm of the opinion it has to do with production and writing. They simply need top-notch writing staff, and productions has to increase. A lot of the wrestlers just need for now to go by a script and take acting lessons. When they go on screen, you have to sound convincing. Now, I've been watching wrestling for 2 years. Now, it doesn't quite translate as far as being a master of production and writing. However, as a fan of watching wrestling for almost 4 decades, I've seen the very best and I've seen the very worst. And right now, AEW is actually the very worst right now. It's probably worse than WCW when WCW was on the decline in years. The performers just don't convince me that they're superstars. They just feel like they're just guys who just ad-libbing, and they're not quite sure of their skills when it comes to the microphone. When it comes to the wrestling, I mean, it's pretty good, but it's just there's no storytelling involved in it. It's just a bunch of guys jumping around, going through tables and fire, and it becomes some sort of like underground indie show where they just do macabre stunts to each other in the hopes of wowing the audience, and it's just not there. I mean, clearly beating people with pipes, attempt to set them on fire, is not drawing the ratings. So it just doesn't work. Yet they seem to be there just to entertain themselves and not the fans. They have to treat it like a business, has to feel like a business. And with WWE, it's a stark contrast, because when you watch WWE programming, it feels like a TV show. The wrestlers feel like superstars. You want to be immersed. It's very exciting. You go to their live shows. It's just great. And and you'd want to buy the merchandise. You get so excited for the product that the merchandise just sells itself. And AEW is just not hitting any of those strides right now. So they're going to have to make some changes. I don't know how much longer this can last. I mean, worst case scenario, from what I've been reading, WB's, the Warner Brothers, been actually kind of content with it. So I guess for them, any kind of content's better than nothing. I just don't see how, from a business model, this is sustainable. Because I've seen TV shows get canceled after having like 4 million views, right? I mean, look at this show Halo on Paramount Plus. The streaming numbers were actually very good. They're probably much higher than what AEW could have get. Yet that show was canceled. Yet for these guys have these kind of ratings and still be on TV is actually stunning. I mean, I know contract's a contract, but even I see some shows where they pull the plug on it right away if it's not drawn. So I just don't know how much longer AEW can last. And slowly but surely, you're seeing a lot of wrestlers from AEW leaving to go to WWE. As of the time of this recording, the Lucha Brothers are waiting for their contract to finish up with AEW, and they're probably going to sign with WWE. So you're slowly seeing a migration of talent leaving AEW, going to WWE. And it makes sense because, like I said, these guys have a small window in terms of being a professional wrestler. Some guys can do 20 years, but that's rare. More often than not, it's like a 10-year window. So you want to make your money, make your name in that window. And you probably want to go to a place where you can become immortalized, which is WWE. The machine there just can make anybody a superstar. I mean, look at Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes went from getting his belt thrown back into the ring by fans while he was at AEW to becoming the undisputed champ in WWE and moving merchandise like he's a one-man Walmart. So there's clearly a better attraction at the WWE than AEW. You've seen stars like Jade Cargill. She left AEW to go to WWE. And so you see more of this happening. And this is, to me, bad for morale AEW because they're seeing some of these guys here going over to the other brand. And it's a trickle-down effect. They're going to say, hey, you know what? Why am I doing over here where I could be over there making more money and get my name out there and become a superstar? So in that regard, WWE's bleeding out AEW. And with these ratings here, they're not getting the fans. So we'll see what happens here. But my prediction is within 3 years' time, they're either A, shut down, or they'll drastically decrease their footprints. Maybe come down to one show and be some sort of just like a B team wrestling show. They just go out there and just perform and with no ambition to improve themselves. That's the only way I can see this going over here. Because like I said, I just can't see networks paying for this content here if they can't draw the numbers. With that being said, comment below, tell me what you think. And also, please subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously and it makes me eternally grateful. Have a good night.